Hi there, and thank you for tuning in. Finally, my V860 Mark II from Godox arrived. I have been waiting for that one for quite a while, but finally it arrived. And I wanted to compare that one to the TT685, which is also a Godox model. And I also want to relate this a little bit to the Yongnuo Speedlight 685 that I have for this one I've had for several years, but I think I'm moving in this direction and I want to tell you why that is. I'm not sponsored by Yongnuo. I think you will see that very clearly in a little while, and certainly not Godox either. I bought all of these lenses, these speedlights for my own money. So my ambition with this video is not to do a full review of these speedlights. I mean, they are speedlights, but I want to point to some of the differences here that I see between these three that I think you should be very aware of. And I think also you may find you want to go for these two, whereas this one is not so attractive unless you're a very, very dedicated Nikon shooter. So let me explain for starters why I start with ruling this one out. And I think you should consider these two. This one is very tied to Nikon. It can only talk to Nikon. It has a Nikon interface, obviously here. This is camera specific, but also in terms of the protocol between, if you have a trigger for this one, the trigger and this one can only talk Nikon, meaning that this one is, once you bought this one, you can only use it for Nikon. That is one big disadvantage, I think, with this one. The other thing is, as I will talk more about later in this video, it has batteries and you get very tired from feeding it with batteries. So I bought an external power pack for this one, and that of course helps. I will also come back to that. But the third thing I think is a problem with this one is that it does not support optical triggering. I know you can buy just a little receiver here and you can attach that at the bottom of the flash here, but I have enough gadgets in my life. I don't need an additional one. I would like my flashes to be complete, so to speak, so they also have the optical option to offer. So this one, it has served me well. I think it's a great flash, but be aware of the limitations. It's tied to Nikon, and you will probably find that if you just become a little bit serious or go up in volume with shooting many flash shots, then you want to buy an external power pack. Okay, so here we are left with the two Godox flashes, and as you can see, I have added the Pro Pack battery pack to the one here to the left because this one has batteries. The traditional ones, as you know, that run flat very, very fast and also has a not so impressive recycle time without the battery pack. And then I have over here the new one, the V860, which has a lithium battery, as you may know. This is very, very convenient. It comes with a separate charger where you plug this in and then you just charge it like you know from your camera. Very, very powerful battery, this one, compared to the traditional batteries. The other thing you should notice is that there's a little letter after the product idea. There's a little letter, in this case S, and that means Sony. I've written that here with a little label so it's easier for you to follow. And then over here it's the Fuji, so that's the F here. I've written that here on also with a little label. So the difference is that now we have two different flashes, and I will see if I can trigger those with a trigger to sit on the camera, whereas these are intended in my case to be off-camera flashes. Because if they sit on the camera, of course, because this interface is camera specific, the one here in the bottom, the hot shoe interface, that is camera specific. So the Sony will only work on camera on Sony, the Fuji will only work on camera on the Fuji. But if I have a trigger and mount these two off camera, then I should be able to fire them with a trigger for instance, for Nikon. So I have actually three brands, you can say, in play in one: Sony, Fuji and Nikon. But I will test that and see if it works. The other thing that I will test is if there's differences between the recycle time with this one with the lithium battery and this one with the battery pack. I think this one over here is a little bit simpler setup than having the battery pack. But of course, if the battery pack is faster, then that is worth a consideration. So let's dive right into it. So here I have the Nikon trigger, as you see, in for Nikon, and that now is to work together with both Sony and Fujifilm Godox flashes. I don't know if you will notice what happened, but as I fired the trigger, the Nikon trigger here, it actually wrote Nikon, both of these flashes, bottom left in the screen, to signal that they were triggered by a Nikon trigger. Another thing you will notice is as I fire these two, that this one is a little bit slower, notice. And that's because the Pro Pack power pack is actually stronger than the lithium battery built into the flash. So that is something to be aware of. If you don't mind the external Pro Pack here, and you want to have extremely fast turnaround times, mind you, I'm shooting at 1/1 here, so this is full throttle. But if you want them to fire fast as possible, then you need the external pack. And also notice that the V860 does not allow you to, as far as I can tell, to add the Pro Pack to the lithium battery. You simply have to rely on the battery. I think that as soon as you move down to a smaller power on the flash, let's say a 1/4 here, let's give that a try. You can hear they are ready almost instantly at the same time. Okay, a final test is then to see, now I've been shooting with the Nikon trigger here. If I instead I have a Sony trigger as well. Let's give that a try here. And what you saw here is exactly as expected. The Pro S here, hope you can see that. The Sony one, now they write Sony down here at the bottom. I'll give that another try. And you can hear, because they are shooting at 1/4 now, they get ready almost at the same time. But the lithium is a little bit slower than the Pro Pack setup. Finally, if I then go back to the first trigger here, you can see now it switches back. I hope you can see that it switches back to Nikon. And I can see that I have a little party here switching between Sony and Nikon. So I think it works very, very well, exactly as planned. And my takeaway from this is that as I really don't have the need for that fast recycle times, I would prefer the V860. If you have extremely high demands on the recycle time, it's probably better to go for a model where you can install an external battery pack. And I would go for the Godox system simply because it is so flexible that you have the option of using them cross platforms. Of course, as I said in the beginning, the Sony flash, if you mount it on camera, will only fit the Sony camera. Fuji the same, but as soon as you're off camera and you have a trigger, then you can work cross platforms, which I think is a fantastic benefit. Another thing I like about both of these flashes is they have an optical slave mode, meaning that I can actually, if I shoot with my Nikon flash, I suddenly have 3 flashes because I can just shoot with these in slave mode. And you can then say, okay, but I want to shoot TTL. Okay, that's difficult to do in slave mode, but I think many of us actually use our flashes in most of the time in manual mode, and therefore the flexibility of having optical slave mode built into the flash, to me, is extremely important. Of course, down to personal preferences. Yep, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. As always, happy shooting. Take care. Bye-bye.